Hi guys, so in this video I want to go over some keywords that you would like to know. You probably want to know if you have curly or afro hair. So one keyword that I want to talk about is hair density. So hair density is to do with how close the strands are together, how many hairs you have per square inch, like per the square inch, how many hairs do you have in that sector. So it's more to do with essentially how thick your hair will be, so how dense is it. So finding out the hair density of your hair is very important, just because when it comes to products, you want to know if the products are going to be too heavy for your hair or too light for your hair. So the next key term is hair elasticity. So hair elasticity, which is to do with how well your hair can manage a pull. So if you're able to pull your hair for a long and then it spring back without breaking, it's to do with that. So it's to do with how your hair bounces back. It's to do with the elasticity. So the flexibility and the elasticity of your hair. If you're able to pull it like this, back and forth, and it not snap and break, then that's to do with, like, it's a measurement as to how your hair manages that. Now, a lot of people, they complain about breakage. This is because your hair's elasticity is very low. It means that your hair has obviously suffered some damage, and therefore it's no longer, the elasticity is now decreased. Hair pH. So the hair pH, apparently the healthiest hair pH should be between 4.5 and 5.5. Now, when you think about water, they say that when you drink water, you should have a pH of 7. 7 is neutral, and then there is the alkaline and acid sides. So ideally, for when you're drinking water, you want it to be a 7. Now, when it comes to hair, the perfect pH is supposedly 4.5 to 5.5. Now, why this is important is because the pH of your hair matters, because when you are now putting in products, if you find your hair is too acidic, then you need to bring it more towards the 7. If your hair is more alkaline, you need to bring it closer so you can. So when you're buying products now, you can look on the shelves and figure out what the pH of that product is and what you're going to put into your hair. For example, chemical hair relaxers, which is what a lot of people do, which ruins your hair completely after a few times. I've relaxed my hair before. The 1 or 2 times was, absolutely fine. I did it a lot when I was younger. It has repaired since. But the chemical relaxers are very alkaline, and so for that reason, they will lift the hair shafts, and when the hair shafts are lifted, you lose a lot of moisture. So that isn't recommended. Now, when you use something like apple cider vinegar, that is acidic. So that is better for you, because apple cider vinegar will close the hair cuticles and retain moisture, which is why a lot of hair products do have apple cider vinegar, just a small amount obviously, because you don't want anything too acidic. But in general, you want to keep your hair range between a 4.5 and a 5.5. Another keyword is curl pattern. A lot of people talk about curl patterns and not everyone's really sure. The main 2 curl patterns, I would say, is curly, kinky and coily. So curly is when the strand tends to just go around in a spiral, and obviously there are different types of curly hair. And then there is kinky and coily. Now, kinky just tends to be a zigzag like this. It tends to just be like that. And coily tends to be like really tightly wound curls. There are different curl patterns. So, and even sometimes within your actual head of hair, there are different curl patterns within everyone's hair. Now, kinky and coily tends to be a 4 hair type, and curly tends to be a 3 hair type. So that's important, just so that you know kind of what your curl pattern is, and when you're brushing your hair, you know how you should be, how gentle you should be, or how rough you can be, depending on your hair curl pattern. Now, if you've got looser curls, you can just go ahead and but if now you've got kinky and coily hair, you need to be gentle with the hair. You need to lightly go through the hair with a comb. You don't need to be attacking it like this. I see a lot of people doing that, and there's nothing wrong with it if your hair's completely strong and it's A1, it's doing its thing. But if your hair ain't on top form, consider that, because you will be pulling out a lot of hair. Your hair's not going to deal nicely with that. And remember, it's tightly wound, so you need to gently brush through it. And again, another top tip is always, if you have a 3 or 4 hair type, only ever brush your hair when it's wet. that's the best time. That's a good habit to get into. Obviously, there may be certain times where you need to brush it, but if you genuinely brush it when it's wet, that's the better option. One of the last keywords is hair type. So I just wanted to explain hair types. A lot of people don't know what hair types are. So the hair types range from a 1 to a 4. And in between each one, so there's 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, 2B, 2C, 3A, 3B, 3C, 4A, 4B, 4C. Okay, so these are different hair types. In general, number 1 is straight hair. Number 2 is wavy hair. Number 3 is curly hair, and number 4 is coily and kinky hair, right? So once you know like which category you're in, then you can treat your hair separately and in different ways. Now, a 1 and 2 hair type is completely different to the way you would treat a 3 and 4 hair type. If you ever go to a European hairdresser's, a Caucasian or European hairdressers, and they're doing their hair the same way that they would do, you need to leave immediately. You need to leave immediately. We've all done it, actually, but we might not have all done it, but I have done it. Wasn't a good look at all. I came out looking like a poodle. I was very unimpressed. They charged me out the roof for a blowout, and it didn't even look good. It looked terrible. Because European and Caucasian hairdressers tend to not really know much about hair types or how to even manage afro hair at all. They just kind of see it as like, oh, that's another hair. I don't know how to. And you know, that's where I kind of feel a type of way about things like that, because I feel like if you're a hairdresser, you should be able to do all types of hair. So, and you should know, at least if you can't do the hair, you should know that you can't do the same things that you do to 3 and 4 hair types as you can to 1 and 2 hair types. Now, within the A, B and C, 1 could just be like really dead straight. 1A, 1B and 1C is just to do with how straight your hair is within that category. Now, when it comes to 2, wavy, now it can be a slight wave, it could be quite wavy, and then it could be really wavy. So the most waviest would be the C, and the A would be the least. Now, when it gets into 3, for example, I'm a 3C hair type. So I'm not quite a 4 because I am mixed race, so with that, it somewhat lessens the hair type down, it tends to do. Not always, but sometimes it does. So 3C, I'm like the curliest of the three range, but not yet curly enough, or basically, yeah, not yet curly, not curly enough, or the texture's not the same enough to be a 4. So it's end of the 3 range. Now, when you get into 4, it's 4A, 4B, 4C. It's to do with how curly, so on the spectrum within that category, how curly or how kinky or coily your hair is. So that is hair types. Now, for example, I'll just go through a little couple things about hair types. For example, on a 1 and 2 hair type, you can often wash your hair, and from wet hair, you cut your hair when it's wet, and you would dry your hair from wet to straight, and there would kind of be no kind of issues. That's on a 1 and 2 hair type. That's on a 1 hair type. On a 2 hair type, that's wavy hair. So with wavy hair, you've got a choice to kind of go wash your hair and go curly with it, or wavy with it by using a diffuser to kind of accentuate the waves, or you have an option to go straight quite easily. With a 3 hair type, you can go straight quite easily, but you have to be careful of the hair type, the hair texture, and the curl pattern. You can't a 3 hair type doesn't tend to do very well with heat, just like a 4 doesn't tend to do well with heat. So with those 2 hair types, you have to be a lot more careful. Often the texture is different, the density is different, the pH could be different. A lot of different aspects are different to the 1 and 2 hair types, and they need to be treated differently. They often lack moisture as well, 3 hair types. And for that reason, a 3 and a 4 hair type should not be treated the same as a 1 and 2 hair type at all. Then there's a 4 hair type. 4 hair type is a lot drier than all the other hair types. Instead of the hair being straight or even curly like in a spiral, it's more kinky and coily, so tightly wound curls or zigzag hair strands. That's how the strands tend to be. They tend to be very thick. They tend to be they can be good they can retain moisture very well, but they have to be treated well. They have to be treated correctly. Often to create curls, you have to kind of manipulate the curl just a little bit, either adding the gel or doing a twist out, or doing braids or something, just to kind of accentuate the curls. Whereas a 3, for example, the curl pattern will naturally usually be there, and all it needs is a little bit of product to bring out the curls. Whereas a 4 sometimes needs a little bit more of a manipulation. So I just wanted to kind of establish that. If you have any questions anyway on 4 hair types, just please write below and I'll get back to you. But the hair typing is probably the most essential one, just so that you know which category you're in and what products then you should be using. And the reason why that's important is just when you're selecting products, you know which kind of products are going to be good for your hair type. Obviously now, you know, a lot of times, especially in the UK, we go into Boots and Superdry, we'll pick up products and we're like, oh, that looks good, curly hair. But I personally, I'm someone now that can tell that ain't gonna work on my hair. I can just tell. I just know, even before using it. Sometimes I'm surprised by products that I use and I know, but other times I can tell they just know nothing about a 3 and a 4 hair type, so it's just not a good move. But knowing your hair type is really important, just so that you know you're on track and you know which products to select so that they are appropriate for your hair type. If you like this video, then please like, subscribe and comment. If you didn't like the video, even so, please comment so I know exactly what you guys are thinking. Also, I'm on Instagram, which is @curlyhairdiscoveries, or also you can check out my website, which is www.curlyhairdiscoveries.com.